Good day, everyone. So we are in Module 12 entitled Hair and Fibers. I am Dr. Erwin R. Abranson. So for our learning outcomes for the week, we have the following. First, identify and describe the different properties of hairs and fibers. Second, explain the relevance of hairs and fibers in crime investigations. Third, determine the process of searching and collections of hairs and fibers as evidence. And four, identify the various laboratory examinations for hairs and fibers. So as we all know, that hairs and fibers are very crucial also in crime investigation. So let us determine out and find out the different properties of hairs and fibers. So first, let us define or describe what a hair is. So, as stated, it is a filamentous outgrowth of dead cells from the skin found only on mammals. So, um, humans are classified as animals in zoology. So we are all mammals, and just like any other mammals, we have our hair. So even animals, they have also their hair. So this is a characteristic possessed by all mammals or found by in most mammals. Now, so let us now identify the purposes of examination for hairs. So bakit ba kailangan na ma-examine natin to? So to determine whether the hair in question originated from an animal or human being and the comparison of questioned and known hair. So you have to remember in a crime investigation, and there is an involvement of hair as a trace evidence, you have to determine first whether it is of animal or human origin. Then there are also two kinds of hair that you have to process. The first one is the question sample, meaning this is the one that you found in the crime scene. Now, for you to be able to determine who owns that particular hair, there should be the the original sample. So that means na if you are looking into the comparison of the hair of the victim, so therefore there should be the sample that you are trying to prove whether it is the hair of the victim or not that may be found on the suspect's clothes. So dalawa. So you have to compare it using a comparison microscope. Now, another purpose is to ascertain whether two or more individuals could have come into contact or whether one or more individuals could have come into contact with an object. So that means na mapapatunayan mo kasi kung yung dalawang tao ay nagkaroon ng physical contact, let's say, nagsuntukan sila, nagpambuno sila, para silang bumagsak. So in case of, let's say, homicide, and the suspect is claiming that he or she is not uh, within the vicinity where the victim died. So, kung ang paliwanag niya na wala siya doon, ay nakita mo na na-examine mo na yung buhok na nasa kanya ay kamatch nung nandun sa victim. So, how would that be possible na i-claim niya na wala siya doon kung may match naman ang buhok ng victim at saka yung buhok na natagpuan sa kanyang clothes or sa kanyang any body part of the alleged suspect. So with that, you can be able to trace kung may physical contact talaga sila. And another one is that whether a group or an individual or more than or a group of individual could have come into contact with an object. Ibig sabihin, halimbawa, let's say, umupo siya do'n sa bato na yon. So, puwedeng nalagdagan siya do'n ng buhok, 'no? So, pero kini-claim niya na hindi pa siya nakapunta or hindi pa sila nakapunta do'n sa place na 'yon. Eh, may mga buhok nila, may mga samples ng hairs na natagpuan and nag-match 'yun do'n. So puwede mo silang idein na nando'n sila, okey? Or puwede din naman halimbawa, somebody is framing a person na na ano, na pinapalagay na nandun siya, which is kiniklaim naman nung ina-accuse na wala siya talaga doon. So, pwedeng mapatunayan yun, whether nandun siya or wala, by means of physical or examination of the hair. Okay? So, yun. So, the examination of this associative evidence is useful in crimes of violence. So, yung crimes of violence, such as homicide, sexual assault, and aggravated assault, where physical contact may have occurred. So, bakit kailangan ng physical contact? Kasi, as I said kanina, so yung hair natin, or yung hair natin ay technically, hindi natin napapansin na nangangalaglag yan. So, if there is a physical contact between two persons, so most probably, may hair na nalaglag sa isa't isa. Could be found on the clothes of the victim or it could be somewhere else. But the point is, it is normal na mag-hair fall, no? So lalo na siguro kung halimbawa nag-awan sila, nagpambuno, nagsabunutan. So yan. So crimes such as burglary and armed robbery typically involve the recovery of debris and articles of clothing which may contain hairs useful for identification of suspects. So here is one of the most common type of trace evidence found at the crime scene. A hair transfer may occur during physical contact of the suspect and the victim. So, kaya siya, most common type na trace evidence. Kaya ito, after na ma-identify at ma-process yung mga ebidensya, mga major evidences, yung mga malalaking bulto-bultong ebidensya. So, saka pa lang magkakaroon ng search for trace evidence like blood, yung mga blood, no? Di kaya ay hairs at saka fibers. So with that, pwede mong i-connect yung suspect or pwede mo din naman na i-disconnect yung suspect doon sa crime na nangyari. Okay? So depende na yon what will be the outcome or the result of your comparison test between the questioned hair and the standard o yung original sample. So, as stated kanina, hair may fall out under condition that suspect is unaware of and unable to guard against it. Kaya ngayon iba na mga yung pinagpaplanuhan talaga yung pagpatay, so naglalagay sila ng hairnet, naglalagay sila ng gloves, para kasi alam nila na upon investigation, pwedeng makuhaan sila ng buhok, no? And pwede silang ma-associate doon sa crime only because of the hair. So, ganun na tayo ka-high-tech. So, what's the value of hair as evidence? So, the value of hair as evidence in the criminal cases has been clearly recognized. So, may papel naman talaga. It is seldom conclusive as evidence, but in conjunction with other details has proven to be an important and essential aid to the investigator. So, hindi naman siya conclusive yung result. Pwede kasi mapatunayan na nandun yung victim sa bahay, nandun yung suspect sa bahay ng victim, but it doesn't prove na siya yung pumatay doon sa biktima. We have to remember na for someone to be jailed, kailangan proven siya without reasonable doubt or beyond reasonable doubt. So that means na hindi questionable yung mga ebidensya na ipe-present natin. And in this case, yung hair ay hindi siya conclusive evidence or madalang na maging conclusive evidence. Perhaps may mga exemption like, for example, nakuha ng DNA yung hair, yun, so pwede yun. But hair as evidence serve as a support to other essential evidences. No? So pwede yun. Plus yung pang mga testimonial, yung mga statement ng mga witnesses, so kasama yun. They have to come in agreement kung ano ba talaga yung nangyari during the crime. So, facts about hair. So, each individual hair is formed inside a hair bulb deep in hair follicle. So, the follicle is a tiny but powerful factory which throughout many people's lifetime continues to produce hair. And the primary component of hair is keratin. Okay, so it is also the keratin that allow us to become waterproof. Kaya kahit maligo tayo or maglublob tayo sa swimming pool or sa ilog, hindi natin na-absorb yung water. Okay? So it is because of the keratin. And that keratin composes also the hair of a human person. So keratins are proteins, long chains, polymers of amino acid. And ito, I would like to highlight this one. An average human head has about 100,000 hair follicles. Some people have as many as 150,000 hair follicles. So yung bawat hibla ng buhok bilangin. So more or less yan ay 100 to 150,000. So each follicle can grow about 20 individual hairs in a person's lifetime. So imagine 20 times na pwedeng tumubo yung buhok na yon. Kasi tutubo, mag-fall out, then tutubo ulit. Up to 20 times na ganun. Kaya nila. So each new hair grows for several years and can reach over a meter in length. So, di ba, may mga tao na hindi talaga sila nagpapaputol ng buhok due to some reasons, no? So, possible naman yun na hindi sila magpaputol ng buhok. Mabubuhay pa din naman sila, though I think it's difficult to take a bath kapag super haba ng buhok, di ba? So average hair loss is about 100 strands a day. So imagine, simula in 24 hours, nakaka-lose tayo ng 100,000 na hair loss. So, ano yun ha, average lang yun. Okay, so that means pwedeng sa ibang time, pwedeng mas mataas, or pwede naman mas mababa sa 100 strands per day. Alright. So as anytime around 80 to 90% of most people hair follicles are in anagen or growing phase, 2% are in catagen phase or the transition period between the anagen and telogen phase or resting phase, which are about 10 to 18% per hair are routinely lost. So next to teeth and bones, it is also one of the most decay-resistant human elements. So yan kasi yung mga kahit naagdas na yung katawan ng isang tao na namatay, may iwan yung buhok, may iwan yung teeth, may iwan yung bones. So because these are decay resistant, no? Ibig sabihin hindi sila basta-basta nabubulok unless perhaps sunugin tapos gawing abo, di ba? So this is the structure of the hair. So parts of the hair, the root bulb, the hair shaft, and the tip. So mahalaga yan na alam natin dahil in crime investigation, there are a lot of things na pwedeng lumitaw upon investigating someone, no? Na may napansin ka dun sa hair nila or you have to compare the hair of the suspect, no? And doon sa pinakang original. Okay? So yan. So ito pa din 'yon. So hair shaft, ito mismo yung fibula ng buhok, no? So it has cuticle, medulla, and cortex. So depende na sa lahi kung Pinoy or kung American yan or African. Iba't iba ng itsura ang hair shaft. Yung iba kulot, yung iba tuwid, yung iba may kulay, as well as the medulla, the cortex, and the cuticle. Okay? So then, diyan nagkakaiba yung other races. Kasi merong mga bansa na dated lang yung kanilang itong medulla, no, yung pinakang kanal, ay putol-putol. Okay? So, yan. So, these are the kinds of hair examination. So, hair microscopy and DNA examination. So, yung sa hair microscopy, dalawa yung isasalang sa comparison microscope. So, kaya nga siya comparison, ito yung ginagamit nyo dun sa dun sa pag-examine ng mga bala sa ballistic. So, ito din yung ginagamit sa pag-analyze ng human hair or hair as a sample sa iyong na nakuha mo as evidence. So, let's say sa kaliwa, andun yung original. Let's say pumayag yung pamilya na magbigay sa inyo ng hibla ng hair. And then sa kanan naman yung questioned hair. So, yon, i-compare kung magkatulad. Okay? So, there are different implications kapag magkatulad or kapag magkaiba. And of course, here is the DNA examination. The DNA examination will give a reliable findings as to the origin of the hair. Okay? So, that is DNA examination. Kaya lang, for a hair to be subjected to DNA examination, kailangan Ano din, kailangan ay sagad hanggang dun sa pinakang ugat ng buto yung makukuha. Another is body area determination of hairs. So, as we all know, there are a lot of body parts tayo na may mga hair, 'di ba? Meron tayo merong bigote, may balbas, sa loob ng ilong, sa armpit, sa arms, sa legs, sa ulo, sa sex organ. So, madami tayong puwedeng pagkunan ng hair. Now, the body area kasi from which a hair originated can be determined by a general morphology. So, ano-ano yung mga characteristics na puwede nating ma-observe sa hair? The length, the shape, the size, the color, the stiffness, curliness, and microscopic appearance all contribute to the determination of body area. Pigmentation and medullary appearance also influence body area identification. So, in that case, ito yung mga tinitingnan natin as physical characteristics ng hair, no? So, mahaba ba or maigsi for the length? Pa-triangle ba siya or pabilog? The size, the color, the stiffness, the hardness, and so on. So, I'm sure na um, you can be able to determine this, no? Kapag nag-observe ka na ng sarili mong hair as indicated in our laboratory activities. Activity na you have to collect sample of hair. So it could be from your body or someone's body. So bahala na lang kayo mag-decide. So body area determination of hair. So hairs which exhibit microscopic characteristics shared by different anatomical areas are often referred to as body hairs. So these include hairs found on the upper legs, lower abdomen, and back. Okay, so there is also a wide range of interpersonal variation in head and pubic hairs. Thus, the majority of work in forensics has been in comparing and differentiating hairs from head and pubic region. So ito lang naman kasi kadalasan yung nagagamit as evidence, no? Na itong buhok na nasa ulo natin at saka yung nasa sex organ, yung pubic hair. Okay? So, head hairs. So, head hairs are usually the longest hair on the human body. Tama naman, di ba? And ito din yung characterized as having a uniform diameter and often at cut tip. These hairs are subject to more alteration than hairs from other body area. Okay, so ibig sabihin ay may iba't ibang shape, no? So, pero kapag halimbawa ang origin ay isa lang, let's say you are talking about the head, no? So, isa lang yun. So, cut tip sa kanya. And isa pa, mabilis kasi magbago din yung appearance ng ating head hair. Let's say, halimbawa, yung isa, bago siya gumawa ng crime, nagpa-straight siya, no? Then, after ng crime, nagpakulot na siya. So, it will be difficult to compare the unat at saka yung kulot. So, another is pubic hair, yung sex organ natin, no? So, yung buhok sa sex organ, the one that protects it. So, are also routinely compared in a forensic lab. Pubic hairs are not subject to much change. Actually, ang mga pubic hair, kahit pa matagal na siyang nakolekta, even a year, ay pwede pa siya ding magamit kasi nga ay hindi siya nagbabago, no? Kasi kung nagbabago, hindi mo yung pwedeng gamitin na let's say after a year or every 6 months. So dapat lagi ka may latest picture, no? Pero in that case ay pwede naman, no, na magamit natin na pwede nating magamit yung pubic hair as a sample. Okay? So may picture ka naman nun para din ma-assure mo na yun pa din naman talaga yung sample evidence na nakatago, di ba? So kahit isang taon yan na nakatago sa crime lab, pwede mo pa din yung magamit kasi hindi siya nagbabago. So it is also recommended naman, halimbawa, may sample ka, let's say nakuha dun sa sex organ ng victim ng rape. So may nakuha ka dun na 2 sample. So pag napak mo yon, maghihiwalay kasi titest yon ng maghihiwalay. Then paano makukuha ngayon yung original? Okay? So let's say you have a court order and dinemand ng court na magbigay yung suspect ng sample ng pubic hair niya for comparison purposes. So in that case, kailangan mo daw na according to the references, kailangan mo ng 25 full length hairs. Okay? So in that case, kukunin mo 'yan sa iba't ibang part ng sex organ. So pwedeng sa may puson, pwedeng sa testes, pwedeng sa penis, pwedeng sa may petan. So as long as it is still part of the pubic hair region. Okay? So yan. So it's saka hinihila siya, hindi siya ginugupit. So in case naman halimbawa, hindi mo maiwasan na putulin, so dapat ang pagputol ay halos agad sa skin. Okay? So yan. So next we have facial hairs. So facial hairs are more commonly called beard hairs or mustache hairs. So yung bigote natin at saka balbas. So these hairs are coarse in appearance and can have a triangular cross-section. So coarse ang appearance niya, medyo makapal kasi lagi nga siyang pinuputulan. So heavy shouldering or troughs in the hair are observed under magnification. It has a white medulla and a razor cut tip. So yung razor cut tip kasi, it is an evidence na inaahit yung mustache or beard from time to time. Kasi kaya may bakat siya or may bakas siya ng razor. Okay? So another is limb hair. Hairs from the legs and arms. Though the pigment in limb hair is generally granular in appearance, the medulla is traced to discontinuous. Okay, so pwede ba siyang gamitin? Pwede naman siyang gamitin, no, as evidence. Kaya lang nga din ay ano nga 'to, kailangan sama mo pa nung other hairs. Okay? So ang sabi nga diyan is that the pigment in limb hair is generally granular in appearance. Okay? Though yung medulla niya ay discontinuous, dati-dati siya. So another is fringe hair. These are hairs coming from the neck, sideburns, abdomen, upper leg, and back. So it is only for let's say you can be able to get evidence like that, but it will be difficult for you to compare it since ang mga fringe hair nga ay wala siyang masyadong identifying mark. So kaya nakalagay diyan, it is not suitable for significant comparison purposes. Hindi katulad nung yung head hair, yung buhok natin sa ulo. Yun ang pinakamabilis mag-change. Okay? So, diba, pinakulayan mo. So, iba na. Let's say nagclaim yung mga witnesses na kulot yung suspect, pero yung suspect ginawa niya, nagpa-stretch siya ng buhok. So, hindi na siya makikilala. Okay? So, yun. So other body area hairs, axillary, chest, eye, and nose hairs are not routinely compared. As with limb and fringe hairs, their presence may during an investigation. Okay. So another thing is that racial determination. Because of the hair, we can be able to, kahit wala yung tao na yun, we can be able to determine kung anong klaseng lahi siya. Siya ba European, Asian, or African. Okay? So, pwede naman itong tingnan, pwedeng basahin ninyo for additional detail. So, another is age and sex. So, can we determine the age and the sex of the person just by using the hair? So, actually, it is not. Okay, so the age and sex of an individual cannot be determined definitely by microscopic examination. And the microscopic appearance of certain human hairs, such as those of infants and elderly individuals, may provide a general indication of age. So, pwede yung extreme, infant at saka yung mga senior citizen. But it doesn't mean na, let's say, after ng test, makikita mo na, this one is 41 years old, this is 45 years old. So, hindi nila na-specify doon. So, what now is our conclusion? So the question here exhibits the same microscopic characteristics such as the hairs in the known hair sample and accordingly is consistent with originating from the source of the known hairs. So again, you have to compare the sample hair and then the other one to the original hair. So the question here is microscopically dissimilar to hairs found in the known hair sample and accordingly cannot be associated to the source of the known hairs. So that is the conclusion of that. So similarities and slight differences were observed between the question hairs and hairs in the known hair sample. Accordingly, no conclusion could be reached as to whether the question hair originated from the same source as the known hairs. So pwede mo sabihin na yes, they are matched, but the question is that really originated from the sample. So when a hair exhibits the same microscopic characteristics as hairs in the known hair sample, a qualifying statement may be added to the report. So this statement may read as follows. Hair comparison are not a basis for absolute personal identification. It should be noted, however, that because it is unusual to find hairs from two different individuals that exhibit the same microscopic characteristics, a microscopic association or match is a basis for strong association. So that means still need um, to use microscope in order for you to compare yung sample at saka yung iyong standard. Okay? Alright, so this time let us talk about fibers. So a while ago we were talking about hairs. So another trace evidence that may be found in the crime scene are fibers. So by definition, fibers are filaments in a smallest single unit forming the basis of the textile yarn. So sa madaling sabi, ito yung mga hibla-hibla na mga sinulid na pag binuo natin ay nagiging tela. So just like hair, ito ay kadalasan na nagiging trace evidence, especially if there are physical contacts happen between an object and a person or person to person whenever there are crimes. May mga crime na nakumit. So the type and length of fiber used, the type of spinning method, and the type of fabric construction all affect the transfer of fibers and the significance of fiber associations. So this becomes very important when there is a possibility of fiber transfer between a suspect and the victim during the commission of a crime. So these are the classes of fibers. So madaming klase. So you have there the first natural fibers, animal, vegetable, and mineral fibers. So yung mga damit-damit natin ay either animal fiber na galing sa sheep, sa camel, sa alpaca o kung ano man, sa mga animals. Now, if it is vegetable, tulad ng mga cotton, mga damit natin na cotton, linen, ayan, mga yan. So, plant fibers serve in the manufacture of paper and cloth. So, there are also mineral fiber. Minerals provide fibers such as fiberglass and asbestos or wool fibers. So, but generally, ang nagagamit natin dyan or kadalasan nakikita natin na crime investigation ay vegetable fibers, yung mga cotton, yung sa damit talaga. So, yun. So, another thing concerning fiber is the color. So, yung color kasi ay identifying mark ng isang fiber. So, saan nanggaling yung color nung fiber? Siyempre, siya ay dye. So, or kinulayan gamit ang dye. So, often several dyes are used to give a fiber a desired color. So, individual fibers can be colored prior to being spun into yarn. So, pwede namang bago siya maging yarn, yung yarn ay yung pinakang main na sinulid, yung paikot-ikot, ay nakulayan na siya. Yung iba naman, ginagawa, kinukulayan ay yung pinakang fabric na pag nabuo na siya into textile. So, there's also what we call the fiber number. So, the number of fibers on the clothing of a victim identified as matching the clothing of a suspect is important in determining actual contact. So, para bang sinasabi ng ilang fiber ang nakuha dun sa katawan ng victim. Okay? So, kasi syempre, pag mas madami, mas matagal sila nagkaroon ng contact. Let's say, nagpambuno sila, nagsuntukan sila, naging defensive mode yung victim. Yun. So, mas madaming transfer of fibers na mangyayari between the two. But the greater the number of fibers, the more likely contact actually occurred between these individuals. Kaya kung halimbawa, isa or dalawa lang, you can see na, though possible pa din, pero mas less yung chances na nagkaroon sila ng physical contact kapag monti lang yung fiber na nakolek. So another thing na you can look into is the location of the fiber. So where fibers are found also affect the value placed on a particular fiber association. So the location of fibers on different areas of the body or on specific items at a crime scene influences the significance of the fiber association. Another is that fabric source determination. So when a question fiber is compared to fibers from a known fabric source, a determination is made as to whether the fiber could have originated from the known fabric. So parang yung sa hair lang din, no? You have to determine whether the question fabric fiber really came from the fabric. Nanggaling ba talaga yung fiber na nakuha mo dun sa damit ng victim or ng suspect. So fiber transfer and persistence. Textile fibers are transferred to the surface of a fabric either by direct transfer or indirect transfer. So halimbawa, nagkaroon sila ng nagpambuno sila, no? So most likely magkakaroon talaga yung transfer of fabric. Another is nature of contact. Kung nagkaroon sila ng contact, anong klaseng contact meron sila, no? So is it a violent contact that of an extended duration will very often result in numerous fiber transfers kasi there is an application of force. No? So another is multiple fiber association found on different items of clothing or fabric from the suspect, the victim, the crime scene. So ibig sabihin, yung fiber nagkalat na all over the crime scene. Merong nasa lupa, nasa sahig, meron sa sofa, meron sa kama, meron dun sa katawan ng suspect. So you can actually associate and recreate the crime scene para makita mo kung saan ba nagsimula yung sakitan nung suspect at saka ng victim. So, assigning significance whenever a fiber found on the clothing of a victim matches the known fiber of a suspect's clothing, it can be a significant event. Parang yung sa hair lang din. So, pag nag-match sila. So, when a fiber examiner matches a question fiber to a known item of clothing, there are only two possible explanations. So, first, the fiber actually originated from the item or clothing, or the fiber did not originate from the item or clothing. So, di ba, may natagpuan fiber dun sa polo niya. So, ang conclusion lang dun ay, yun bang fiber ay part ng polo or hindi? Yun lang yun. So, pag nakita na hindi, then therefore, kaninong fiber yun. So, imamatch mo din siya in another clothes. So, the location and collection of fiber evidence at the crime scene can be a difficult task due to their minute size and composition. So, napakaliit kasi niya para makollect. Kaya dapat ay napaka-observant nung nagko-collect ng evidence. So, collection of fibers as evidence. If threads or large fibers are found, they can be picked up with the fingers. So pwedeng kamay mo na mismo, daliri mo na. And place in a paper bindle. So, meron ka nakahanda dapat na papel. Then, in a coin envelope. Okay, so paper bindle, then sa coin envelope, which can be sealed and marked. So, never place loose fibers directly into the mailing envelope since they can be lost from this type of envelope. So, hindi mo pwedeng idiretso. Kasi pag diniretso mo yun, pagbukas nun, baka mamaya sumuot na yun kung saan hindi mo na makita kasi napakaliit nga lang ng fiber. If the fibers are short or few in number, if it is possible to do so, wrap the area of the entire item containing the fibers in paper and send the whole exhibit to the laboratory. Okay? So, yan. So, in sex offenses, assaults, and some of other cases, it may be possible to indicate or demonstrate contact between two individuals or between one other individual and some other objects such as car seat by comparing fibers. So that ends my discussion about fibers. So this is our references. So thank you so much for listening, for watching the video. So please answer your activity sheet. Thank you so much. See you again next time.